Hello, hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in this bright and early Tuesday morning for another Starcraft 2 broadcast. My name is Anaris, and today we're here watching a 1 versus 1 on one of the new Blizzard Season 3 ladder maps, Antigua Shipyards. We do have Nos Loki spawning as the Blue Zerg up in the 2 o'clock position against the Terran player who is spawning very close down in the, I'd say 5 o'clock position. Startail Virus, had to think about the name for a second there. So we have a TVZ today on one of the more macro-oriented maps. Now, since this is a relatively new map, let's actually go over some of the basic features here. You can see main base. Okay, that's pretty standard. The main base actually kind of interesting. It's 2 layers up here. I could show you up here better. It's actually 2 layers up from the ground level, so there is a little space right here that'll help Reapers, Colossi get up, and of course there's the vision blocking stuff. The natural expansion, we'll use the Zerg base, a little bit easier to explain. It's pretty wide open, but there is one choke point ramp right here, kind of wider than your average ramp, but it does actually give close access to a third base, which is in kind of a condensed area. There is a back door, though, with a set of destructible debris, don't know why I can't say that, leading to the rear entrance, which actually heads out towards the middle of the map. 2 high-yield resource areas, 1 Zelnaga watchtower in the middle, a little elevated terrain there as well. Now, let's just talk briefly about the dynamics of the spawn points here. As we see, pretty much both players are starting off with their builds. Terran, he's opening up 1 Rax gas, that's all fine and dandy. Zerg, of course, is going hatch first. This is, like I said before, the macro map of the Season 3, so not surprised that we see that style of play. Now, as far as the map dynamics, you see how the Terran is actually spawning with his natural and his third, kind of pushing towards the Zerg's main base, whereas the Zerg's natural expansion actually pushes away from the Terran, and the third is going to kind of glide along the north here with different expansions, eventually leading over to this corner way far away from the Terran player. So I would expect to see Startail Virus try to put some early pressure here on the main once he actually scouts out his opponent's position. We do have that SCV coming up right now. Something along the lines of Banshee, I think, would be somewhat powerful here. Again, the very short flight distance. You do have an easy way to run away. Also, another thing, and this is actually something the Zerg can kind of take advantage of. You see that the natural creep spreading is going to be heading down in this direction, out the ramp, etc. Well, if you drop a creep tumor back here, not only do you limit a Terran's ability to, say, throw in Reaper harassment off of the creep in this spot through this little jump space, but you're able to creep down and then creep back up and secure the Terran's third base by creeping on it. So that can definitely be a hindrance for Startail Virus's economy, or to be looking to see what the Zerg player does here. As personally, I actually don't have a lot of experience on this map yet. But it looks fun, and I mean, hey, macro maps are awesome, so hopefully we'll have a good game here. I do think it's interesting how the Zerg player kept the gas there for so long. He kept that extractor. I think he's trying to delay any sort of harassment. I feel like he knows that there's a potential for Banshee play, stuff like that. We do have a starport on the way just above the command center, and I think that was kind of his attempt to delay it for as long as possible. We could see the Terran is riding kind of low on the gas right now, so he won't be able to get out maybe more than 1 or 2 of them super quick. Definitely no cloaking to go along with it. But at this point, we see that Zerg is already working on starting to explore the map. He sees that 1 Hellion running around. Okay, so that Zergling, we can pretty much write that guy off there. And yes, so the SCV is like, oh, another Zergling? Sweet, go get him. But on to more serious issues. You can see the drone count's already looking pretty good, already taking a 1 worker lead over his opponent. And the Hellion in the field, though, it could do some serious damage. We don't have a Blue Flame upgrade on the way just yet. Again, one of those things that you kind of have to live without for at least a little while when you're running with that reduced gas count early. But I feel like Virus adjusted his build order fairly well. He's got that Banshee coming out, started around the 6-minute mark or so. So all in all, pretty good. We do have several Marines and a couple Hellions actually maybe doing some harassment in the natural. I don't know how effective it is, or it will be. I say maybe because you see there's a number of Zerglings here, there's a couple Queens already, a decent number of drones, so I feel like with the creep already having spread all the way out here, Terran's going to be kind of limited in what he can do. He will be able to get in with the Hellions and maybe do a little bit of damage, but with that Spine Crawler and the Queens, again, it's going to be at best limited. So sure enough, there we go. Zerglings actually coming back, trying to restrict the movement of the Terran player. You see the creep actually allowing the Zerglings to run super fast, even all the way down the ramp there, finally driving off the Marines in a very well executed defensive play by Nos Loki. We can see just the results of that super quick. 550 to 425 right now. Income, well, it really wasn't that affected. I mean, the attack was basically an attempt by the Terran player to kind of set the Zerg back down on his level a little bit, but obviously didn't work out too well. So now we have the Banshee coming over here in the main base. There is one Spore Crawler that is just about complete, going to really limit its effectiveness. But he was able to take off 3 drones. 3 queens running around with a full creep connection between the natural and the main, though, is again going to effectively shut that down. So the Zerglings are going to come up, spot, okay, there's 2 Hellions, there's a wall off, nothing I can really do. He did spot the double barracks play, though, so we can actually just take a look real quick here and see, okay, he saw one of those. And I believe that's just one Banshee kind of floating around midfield. And we do also have a couple well-placed Overlords here. I like these in particular because they do kind of cover the main areas where any type of Terran drops will be maybe heading out of the base, trying to evade detection in the middle of the map. So the Zerg player will still indeed know about that. We do have one medevac on the way. That Blue Flame upgrade just about complete. As we look at the units tab, we see neither player is in a real good position to do any sort of serious assault, harassment at best, and we see that Virus is going to try to take advantage of that. The Blue Flame Hellions are once again going to try to pay for themselves and knock down the Zerg economy. But look at this. We do have the Banshee still trying to do any harassment possible up here, evading the Queens, evading, oh, not for long, but evading the Creep Tumor. But the important thing down here is that the Zerg player, again, the Overlord and the Zergling both helped him to spot that medevac that's on the way. So you see those Zerglings actually hanging out in the base right now, so we can expect a very quick response to any sort of drop play involving those Hellions, which here comes the medevac right now, going to be landing. Zergling's in position. He is looking for a good spot. He really should be dropping a Hellion up there to try to establish himself a safe landing spot. He is going to be losing one of those Hellions, though, as he is forced to retreat once again. Queen there, another one, a second Queen. Yeah, 3 is the Queen party over here. I think there's like slumber party and all. But that medevac is still just going to be looking for a place to drop and do some damage. Again, he knows that he's not in the best spot. We do have the Zerg third going down right now. You see right there, it'd be a perfect spot to drop down one of those Hellions and establish a nice little beachhead right here with which to do damage. But with the creep already spread nice and thick throughout these parts, it's just going to be super difficult. And Yabu's got to get out of there before he loses the medevac too. So units lost now. It's still not looking so hot, man. Terran 1250, Zerg 950. Zerg, he's got the Spire Tech complete. He's going to be able to get some of those mutas up. Harassment would be absolutely fantastic. We see very little anti-air down here in the Terran main base. Of course, the natural expansion is kind of tucked away here in the corner, so it would be a little bit more difficult to access that without the Terran player maybe knowing about it a second or two beforehand. But we see he's going to be moving out possibly once again here. A couple siege tanks taking the lead. Going to be maybe going for the more direct attack here on the natural expansion. But again, looking at the unit compositions before this attack actually takes place, we see a number of Banelings. We've also got several Zerglings and 8 Mutalisks. So with the tanks heading out in front, the Mutas are going to spot, okay, oh wait, what's going on here, man? There's a Marine heading. Oh crap, better going to run away. Yep, definitely not a good spot to engage. But he did get that crucial information that an attack is imminent. So he's going to finish up a few more Banelings here. We see the units still kind of adjusting. We'll see exactly how the Zerg player handles this. He does have the high ground advantage, and he does not have the burrow upgrade. Really doesn't need it. I mean, at this point, I think he'd be all right without trying to do any Baneling bombs, especially since we have seen some pretty decent use of Comsat from the Terran player thus far. But I mean, really, what's he going to do up here? All he's doing is basically just parking himself. He is, unfortunately, supply blocked right now. He is waiting for more reinforcements to push up, and here comes the Zerg player in full pursuit of the Terran. Oh, man, this is just not even going to be pretty. Siege tanks first to go, Marines going second, and all that's left is a medevac, and that's going to be worked out in about 3 seconds there. Units lost as a result of that. Gap is even wider. So now with the Zerg player expanding his creep down here towards the Terran base, I'm sure once that reaches way down here, the Terran's going to be like, alright, enough is enough. I've got to take a third. Well, really, what are his options? With all those mutas running around, not a lot at this point. He has got to play some pretty heavy D. Of course, Zerg is over there trying to deny that upgrade. Will he be able to take it out? No, I don't think so. The Marines plus the medevac equals a better defense there than what the Zerg is actually able to handle. But he does have weapons 1 for the mutas just about complete, and also the infestation pit. Now, if he's able to get out some infestors here, I think it'll work out fantastic and put him in possibly a position to just go ahead and win once he has a good army built up off of these 3 bases right now. But anyways, this can like the threat of the mutas is what I'm really worried about for the Terran player. The fact that he's not really going to be able to effectively expand. We see actually the mutas coming in here, going to maybe pop off that SCV. Sure enough, there we go, delaying that even more. The Terran player could expand right here. It would be closest in terms of land units. He could have those Marines just a hop, skip, and a jump away from that expansion, but it would be pushing him right up against the Zerg main, which is obviously going to put a lot of pressure on his base. He could also expand down here, but again, the mutas, I mean, their mobility here, the Zerg has good map control. He's done a good job containing the Terran, both actively and passively. Actively, I mean engaging with the Mutalisks, and passively controlling the Watchtower, using the creep to gain vision of the high ground up here and block the 3rd expansion. And so I think that Zerg is in such a fantastic position here that Terran is really going to have to do something crazy in order to come back in this. But there is a 30 food discrepancy right now, and you see this expansion working full-time. Looking at the income tab, 50 to 87. 87 workers right now, so that is definitely going to translate into some serious army power here in the next few minutes. And more importantly, if he's able to go ahead and get off that get off this 4th base up here, then he's going to be able to transfer some of those drones over, maybe ditch a few of them, and then let that money build up, which is really what he wants to do. So that way, the next engagement that they have, the big one, he'll be able to refield his army just seconds after losing it and mop up. So Terran is going to have to be very careful in what he does here. He is moving out siege tanks, Marines, medevacs, pretty decent sized force. He's going to be looking to establish that 3rd base. We see him moving up the ramp now, looking to clear out some of that creep that has effectively delayed that expansion. Again, playing super defensively, pretty much his only option at this point. Not really able to harass. I would like to see a little bit of possible maybe harassment, maybe a drop or 2, something like that, with Marines at some of these more unguarded expansions. But then again, you've got all of these spine crawlers littered around. Zerg, of course, has good creep coverage on his corner of the map, so his Zerglings will be able to respond very quickly. And now here comes the Zerg player with the mutas. He's going to be looking for any type of vulnerability to this expansion. I think he knows this is actually, yeah, he sees that turret over there, so he knows something is up. But with the Marines able to come over and get 1 muta, 2 mutas, wow, that attack definitely did not pay for itself there. But Zerg is still remaining largely passive. He's not trying to directly engage the Terran, and I think at this point that's a good idea. He does have a commanding lead of about 30 supply, almost 40, and he wants to keep that. So rather than trying to force the engagement, he's just going to go ahead and keep working on his economy, keep expanding. You see he's doing a good job keeping the creep out. He's continuing to deny expansions there, again, through that type of passive scouting. And there's some more overlords. Probably going to be spreading some creep around. You see they're on move queues right there. And here we go. Here comes a creep tumor kill team. That should be like a college team or something. I don't know. One of those cool little sweatshirts that you can get once you're an alumni or something. I don't know. But either way, we do have the Zerg army looking very, very sexy here. Lots of banelings and festers. Great counter against what we've seen so far. We do have that neural parasite upgrade just about complete, which is really going to help in shutting down this large quantity of siege tanks. He's just got to make sure he can get those Zerglings in first to absorb that initial volley of damage that we're going to see. In terms of upgrades, we see Marines 2-1, tanks 0-1. Zerg player, I think he's 1-1 right now for the melee, and of course air. We see that he is 1-1 as well. Greater Spire just about complete. Some Broodlords would be a fantastic addition to the next incarnation of this army, which we're going to see Zerg player coming in and catching the Terran player before he's really able to siege up. Now gets several mind controls. Zerglings moving in, causing a lot of the splash damage from those tanks down below to hit the units up top, and it is just not working out very well for the Zerg player, or the Terran player rather. I think that the Terran player will be able to finish off barely. We see that with the mind control wearing off there, he's going to end up with a couple of siege tanks, a few Marines, just barely enough to fight off that. The Zerg player doesn't want to risk losing those 2 infestors here, but you see that we had a ton of Zerglings just built a second or two ago. I think it was like 60-something, and several Broodlords on the way as well. Terran doing a good job continuing with those upgrades. We look at the units on the field now, we can see it's definitely not looking too good for the Terran player. 34 Marines, 5 siege tanks, 7 and now 7 medevacs against this whole slew of things. Plenty of Zerglings, those are the foot soldiers the Zerg player needs to get in close with those infestors, lay down some fungals, deny the movement of the Terran player trying to micro his Marines, and eventually secure the high ground here, which right now the Terran is still controlling. But you gotta remember though, the Zerg is still doing a good job keeping creep all over the map. We do have several different expansions with it completely covered up. Siege tanks kind of heading out a little bit on their own. No marine coverage, so we'll wait and see exactly how this goes with the Broodlords. Sure enough, they are going to be coming in here, forcing the Marines to run ahead, which the Zerg does take advantage of. Very smart play. Good catch by Loki. Here come the Zerglings now, going to be trying to get a good surround of the siege tanks. We see the Marines are not in a good position to really do anything. Yep, and this attack is pretty much over here. All that's left, just a few Marines, a couple medevacs, and some Broodlings that are just, I want my lunch money, but overall, let's look at the units lost. Did I really just say that? Wow. It's actually evened out a good bit. Look at this drop coming right now. Zerg is looking like he's going to want to go for a counterattack here, while the Terran player heads over with a largely Marine-based force. A lot of his medevacs are pretty dinged up, so he's going to have to watch out for that Spore Crawler there. But he will be unloading in a hot zone with several Spine Crawlers here, which it looks like is going to trigger the Zerg player to try to go and possibly initiate a base race here. Although I will say, I think at this point the Zerg player is going to be able to recover much easier than his opponent. Again, oh man, he's got to raise that supply depot. No, he does not. He loses both of those siege tanks. Of course, those Broodlords in there coming and sealing the deal with the factory, denying any more production there from the main base. But I say the Zerg player is going to be in a better position, not only because of the obvious, he's got way more bases, but the loss of the main for him compared to the loss of the main for his opponent is not nearly as effective. We see the natural down here is where it's all at. The Greater Spire, the Baneling Nest, the Infestation Pit, the Hive, double upgrades, everything natural. So Zerg really didn't lose too much overall from that attack. We see that now Terran is coming over from the rear with the Marines trying to take out the Broodlords. The Broodlords are actually not being microed up into the high ground. He's just continuing to use those to hold off while he does more damage over here with the Zerglings in the main base. How will this end, man? I do not know. He just lost all of the Broodlords here. You see that Zerg is sitting at around 1,500 minerals. He will be able to reproduce his army at a fairly decent rate. He did lose the spawning pool, so that is going to delay his ability to dump a lot of those larvae into his Zerglings. But I think the Terran should be able to actually mop this up here. A couple of Zerglings are all that's really left. A couple Infestors, 32 Zerglings now on the way, as well as Weapons 3. So there's what we have on the field currently for units. We also do have a couple Zerglings down here. Yeah, just kind of finishing up some depots. Nothing too serious. Nothing the Terran player can't handle at this point. But we are going to see the Zerg player rebound very quickly. He's got the money. He's got the resources. In terms of the hatcheries, the larvae. So I really do feel like Loki has just, for a while now, been in a commanding lead, and this is where it's really going to shine. We've had the big attacks, we've had both armies kind of trade more or less here, and now we're seeing Loki really able to come with a strong rebound. Plenty of Banelings on the way. There's that centrifugal hook upgrade we saw just a second ago, and let's look at what the Terran player has. A bunch of Marines, a few medevacs, and a siege tank. Really nothing that he can do a whole lot with compared to what the Zerg player has. You see, this is very vulnerable to fungals, which we're actually going to see here. 2 of them right now landing at a great spot in the Marines. Baneling is coming in to finish it up in a beautiful mop-up play. Loki, once again, man, showing his stuff. More Zerglings on the way. Got another Corruptor as well. And now we're going to see a fungal on the Marines. And GG! What an end, man. Antigua Shipyard, Very nice 1v1 from the Korean server. Thank you guys again for watching. Congratulations to Nos Loki for an outstanding play. Be sure to tune in for more awesomeness.